Hello students, in today's video lecture we are going to continue with The Merchant of Venice by William Shakespeare. In the previous video lecture we did Merchant of Venice Act 3 Scene 2. So let's continue with the next scene, that is Act 3 Scene 3. But before I continue, let me quickly read out the summary of the previous scene, Act 3 Scene 2. The scene took place in a room in Portia's house in Belmont. This is the third of the cascade scenes. Bassanio is anxious to try his luck at once. Portia asks him to stay for a month or two before choosing. In spite of Portia's entreaties, however, Bassanio is eager to choose immediately. Portia calls for music to be played while he chooses. Bassanio has to make a choice. He rejects gaudy gold because one is not to be judged by outward appearances. He also rejects pale and common silver, as one should not be deceived by ornament. His choice is the meager lead. He finds Portia's portrait within the casket and reads the scroll. He is overjoyed. Portia expresses her love for him and shows her essentially feminine nature. She gives him a ring, a token of their love. Nerissa announces that she and Gratiano also wish to marry. She also gives Gratiano a ring. Both the men vow to wear them all their life and never part with them. Celario, Lorenzo, and Jessica arrive with the distressing news that Antonio's vessels have all been lost and Shylock is determined to extract a pound of flesh. Portia offers to pay the debt 20 times over. She advises Bassanio to proceed directly to the help of his friend, while she and Nerissa will stay in Belmont and pray for him. Bassanio leaves with money to pay the Jew. So now let's continue. Act 3, Scene 3. The scene took place in a street in Venice. Enter Shylock, Salario, Antonio, and Jailer. So as I always say, children, please keep your textbooks in front and hold a pencil in your hand so that you can jot down few important points as well as meanings. And it's not possible for me to read each and every line from your textbook. This simple and explanation in simple and modern English is displayed on the screen. Shylock. Jailer, look to him. Don't tell me about mercy. So here Shylock is telling to the jailer to guard Antonio well. At the same time, he is telling jailer not to talk of mercy to him. He is referring Antonio as a fool. He is saying that this is the fool that lent out money to the people free of interest. Take good care of him. Antonio. But listen to me, good Shylock. Antonio is requesting Shylock to please listen to him. Shylock, I'll have my bond. Speak not against my bond. So here Shylock, you can see the obdurate nature of Shylock, where he is saying that I must have the penalty mentioned in the bond, that is a pound of flesh. I'm not willing to listen even a word against it. Means he doesn't want anyone to convince, since he has already made up his mind to go with the bond. I have taken an oath that I shall have the bond. He is saying that he has sworn an oath that I'll have my promise or I'll have the bond. You called me a dog before you had any reason to abuse me like that. Shylock is saying that Antonio had called him a dog, had insulted and humiliated him many a times, and that too without any reason. But as I am a dog, I beware of my teeth. So now he is saying that since you have called me a dog, so now beware of my fangs. Fangs here means those sharp canine teeth which dogs have. The Duke will do justice to me. So here now he is referring to Duke of Venice, and he is expecting the Duke to do justice to him. That is, not to be partial and give justice to Shylock. You wicked jailer, I'm surprised that you're so foolish as to come out of the jail with him at his request. So now he is shouting, he is calling the jailer wicked because on Antonio's request, the jailer has brought Antonio out of the jail. Antonio, I pray thee hear me speak. Now here Antonio is again requesting Shylock to let him speak. He wants to say something, but then Shylock is not ready to listen. Shylock, I'll have my bond. So again, Shylock is repeating the same, which is showing his keenness, or like how he has made up his mind. He is not ready to change his mind, or he has already made up his mind that he'll go with the bond. I will not hear you speak. I must have my bond, therefore speak no further. So he's telling Antonio, I don't want to listen to you because I'm definitely going with my bond. I shall not be made a soft and dull-eyed fool to shake my head. Now here, soft and dull-eyed means weak. Soft here means weak. He's saying that I'm not a weak person. I'm not weak. I have already for you to shake my head. That means since he have already made up his mind, now no one can change his mind or his decision. Dull-eyed means easily deceived, means a person who can be easily deceived. So he is telling Antonio that he is neither weak nor dull-eyed, that is, can be easily deceived. Neither Antonio can shake his head, that is, change his mind. Take pity, sigh, and yield to Christian middlemen. And he is saying that give in and sigh and surrender to Christian intercessor. Now here, Christian intercessor means those who speak for Antonio. Middleman here means all those who are taking Antonio's side, and definitely they are taking Antonio's side. That means they have to be Christians. Like Christians, they are supporting Antonio. Do not follow me. I shall not like to talk anymore. I will have my bond. So he's like, don't follow me. Don't try, I don't want you to speak to me, or don't convince or request me to speak, because I'll have my promise. That is, I'll have my bond. With this, the Jew leaves. Salarino. Children, as you can see on the screen, there is a mistake. Actually, it is Salarino. It is a most impenetrable cur. Now, cur means dog, and impenetrable means here feelingless, like a person without any feelings, or a person or an insensitive person who cannot empathize with the feelings of others. So Salario is calling him a dog, and that too a cruel dog, who ever lived among men. That means he's saying that it is the most difficult to understand dog that ever stayed with men. Means he's a dog who is living among men. Antonio, let him alone. I will not follow him any longer with useless request or prayer. So now Antonio also has understood that it's a waste. All his prayers and requests are useless since Shylock is not ready to listen. So he's saying that leave him alone. I won't follow him. He want to take my life. I know his reason fully well. So he's saying, I know he wants to take my life, and I also know the reason behind it. Often I have saved men who came to me for help, upon whom he was trying to impose penalties. So we all know that Antonio and Shylock, they both were money lenders, but then the difference was Shylock used to charge heavy interest on the money he used to lend, wherein Antonio used to lend money with an intention, to help people. And that's the reason, or you could say one of the main reasons for Antonio cursing Shylock, and Shylock hating Antonio, because Shylock had a valid reason that he is earning his own profit, by he's making money through lending money, and he didn't feel that it was wrong in any way. So Antonio is giving the reason. What is the reason for Shylock, to be so insensitive for Antonio? The reason is that Antonio used to help people who used to come to him for help, whom Shylock used to charge penalties, or he used to charge them high interest, and they used to go to complain to Antonio and also to seek help from Antonio. This is why he hates me. That is, this is why Shylock hates Antonio. Salarino. I am sure the Duke will never grant his forfeiture to hold. So Salario is saying that I'm sure that the Duke will never enforce this penalty. Antonio. The Duke cannot deny the course of law. So when Salarino is saying that he's sure, now since the Duke of the Venice is also the judge who's going to take a decision, so Salarino is somewhere hopeful that the judge or the Duke will not allow this penalty, that is to remove a pound of flesh from Antonio's body, to be enforced. So Antonio is saying that the Duke himself is helpless, that is, he cannot deny the course of law. The foreigners enjoy rights and privileges in Venice. Now here foreigners means outsiders, that is those who doesn't belong to Venice, who have come to Venice for business. So Shylock is also a foreigner, an outsider, and they enjoy certain rights and privileges, that is, they have certain rights and privileges in Venice. The law of the land will be called in question if Duke denies the exaction, that is taking of the penalty. So Antonio is saying that since the foreigners law is being protected in Venice through certain rights and privileges, even the Duke cannot change the course of law, or the Duke cannot deny. Otherwise it will be like if it is denied, it will reflect very badly on the justice of the state. Means it will have a very wrong impression, or a wrong impression about justice of the state. That means it will give a wrong message to the other states and the people outside that the justice does not prevail in Venice. It will adversely affect the trade of the city, since a number of foreigners and strangers have trade with us. Again, he is saying that if a wrong decision is being made, or if justice is not being given to Shylock, it will set a wrong example to the other foreigners and strangers or outsiders who have come to Venice to trade. Therefore, let us go. This anxiety and all my losses have so reduced me and made me think that I shall hardly have a pound of flesh to give my bloody thirsty creditor Shylock. So now here we can see the attitude or the nature of Antonio's behavior or personality, kind of given up. Like he has already given up. He has accepted his fate. And he is saying that the anxiety and all my losses, with so much of financial losses altogether happening, he becoming a bankrupt, and the anxiety and stress which is going through, he feels that he has lost so much weight that there will be hardly a pound of flesh in his body for his creditor, for his cruel creditor, that is bloodthirsty creditor, whom he is referring as to Shylock. That means he is referring Shylock as bloodthirsty creditor. So he is saying that hardly I have a pound of flesh to give or satisfy my creditor, that is Shylock. Well, jailer, go on. I pray to God that Bassanio may come to see me pay his debt. So he is saying, I pray to God. Now this is the last wish, you could say, since Antonio has accepted his fate. So now his last wish is to see Bassanio before his death. I shall have no worries after that. So if he gets a chance to see Bassanio before his death, so he will have no worries. That is, he can die freely. Or then I care for nothing, and then he doesn't care what happens to him. But just before his death, he wants to see Bassanio, his best friend. So since we have completed Act 3, Scene 3 also, I have put this summary here, which let me read it out for you. So as we saw in this scene, that is Act 3, Scene 3, the scene took place in Venice, a street, Antonio has been allowed to leave the jail accompanied by the jailer. That is, on Antonio's request, the jailer has accompanied him and allowed him to leave the jail. Antonio hopes to speak with Shylock and plead for mercy. So he's thinking that he can request, or he can request for mercy from Shylock, but Shylock refuses to listen. 5 times while Antonio begs Shylock to let him speak, the moneylender reacts emphatically, "I'll have my bond." Antonio has publicly called Shylock a dog. Now Antonio will feel the fangs of the dog. Fangs, as I said, the canine teeth, or you could say the sharp teeth of dog. Shylock refuses to be a soft and dull-eyed fool, soft, weak, dull-eyed, easily deceived person. So now here Shylock is obdurate. He is sure that nothing can change his mind. No one can deceive him, and he has taken an oath that he'll go by the bond. He is absolutely certain that the Duke of Venice will see that justice is carried out according to the terms of the bargain. Now, terms of the bargain, terms of the agreement. Now, Shylock is also very sure that the Duke cannot deny him justice, as he is legally right, or whatever he is demanding for is legally right. Salarino tries to comfort Antonio by saying that the Duke will not enforce this penalty, but it is unsuccessful. Antonio knows that one of the chief reasons why Shylock hates him so much is that Antonio often saved people who were in debt to Shylock by paying their debts for them. That is, Antonio used to help those people who had taken loan from Shylock, and Shylock had imposed heavy interest or heavy penalties on them, and they had taken, or they had been to Antonio for help, and Antonio has helped them. Thus, he prevented Shylock from foreclosing and claiming their collateral. He also knows that the Duke of Venice must judge according to the letter of the law. Now, letter here, you could say the charter, or the rules, or the privileges which the outsiders enjoy in Venice. Venice is an international trade center. Money lending is a major business and cannot be treated lightly. Antonio must pay his debt according to his contract. He knows that Shylock seeks his life and the law cannot save him. Now here Antonio, as I said, he has accepted his fate because he knows that neither Shylock is going to change his mind, nor the law or the charter of Venice is going to save him. He is prepared to die if only Bassanio will come. That is his last wish before dying, is to see his best friend Bassanio. So if he gets to see Bassanio, then he doesn't care, or he will not have any regret in dying. Thank you, children.